Okay, you've seen the pictures. This is going to be a quick build or a slow build, not too sure yet. We'll see how we go. This is the cool Volador from FlyFish. This is the Deadcat frame. Quick build, put it together. If you guys have one of these, it's come in handy, or maybe not. A lot of it will be fast forwarded. As you already know, I'm going to be chucking some pretty cool MEPS gear in here. MEPS spacers, MEPS motors, flight controllers, ESCs. Got some pretty decent props here too. Have a look at my link if you haven't heard of MEPS before, which I'm sure you have, otherwise you probably wouldn't be here. They have some pretty cool gear. It's not the first time I've used MEPS. They're going really strong in my sector. I've done many kilometers with these MEPS motors, MEPS flight controller, ESC, good quality stuff, so check them out. I've got a link there if you want a bit of discount with any of this MEPS gear. I have that as well, so be sure to follow those prompts. Grab yourself some goodies. Okay, let's get back into this build. I will do a little bit of talking as I'm going along. Starting off these builds is always a bit complicated. Something to look out for with this FlyFish is your little see-through transparent thingamajig. Just put something on top there to stick that down. What I do is lay it out on the floor in the configuration that you need. This I find is the best way to drop everything down in the first instance so that you can start bolting it together. After that, it's a lot easier. Okay, let's go. So I just line up all the holes, line up all the parts. These two printed parts here, one's got an L and an R on it. It's quite easy to see which way they go, so make sure you don't mess it up and make sure you don't forget it. There is a diagram available, of course, which makes it a little bit easier for your initial setup. I'll have a link to that in the description below. We'll take our blue tack off now. So you don't actually need to have the TPU mounted parts sitting there for this part. It looks like we can just stick them on afterwards. That is the bottom part of the quad. Make sure your feet are facing the right way. So it looks like on our chart we've got some nice colour coding. So the next 4 screws are the M316 screws. You've got your M316s next that go 1, 2. It's a really nice colour coded chart that FlyFish have supplied, which is really handy. Excellent idea. Okay, it's time to bring out the helping hand. There's a bit of screwing involved to make life a bit easier. Lovely. So we'll have our 5s, our 12s and our 22s. So I'm assuming the middle size is the one we want. So we'll have 2 of them down there. That makes sense. Alright, let's put our TPUs back in. Don't forget left to left, right to right. Okay, this is where the fun begins. That was the easy part, I believe. So what's going to be happening next is we flip it over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 standoffs. Alright, I've had to do a quick rewind there. So these M328s, I was wondering where my flight controllers are going to be mounted because it's all a bit funny. It actually says M38 or whatever. It's actually the M328 is one of the leg screws, so let's swap that around. And hopefully it's going to work. Okay, back to the standoffs. So, from what I gather, we have the 4 tall ones at the front. Looks like they've given us a couple spare just to confuse us. 2 shorter ones at the rear. So once you've got all those in, I think we are on track. It's certainly turning out to be a really sturdy unit, that's for sure. Okay, I think now we flip it over and keep carrying on with some TPU mounts. Quick update, got the front on, got the little crash plate on here, ESC down below, the feet are on, the back's on. I was a bit curious about this extra part here, but it turns out that If you don't want to run a GPS unit on the rear, you can just mount this one here, which will just have your antenna holes, and that is all. So that's a nice little addition, but I will be running a GPS. Got the nice little TBS one here, should be good. I'll just put my rubbers on the flight controller, make sure that's facing the right way, put him down there. So we just want to make sure that nothing's going to be compromised, no one's touching each other, plenty of room for your lock nuts on top. Now I need to go ahead and I need to solder on my power supply. Probably got a little bit too much cable here, so I shall shorten that. Now that I know exactly where my XD60 mount's going, I can actually have that running straight in there, which means I don't need all that extra wire. Although bear in mind, I am going to be putting in the Avatar HD, which actually sits just down under here, so my capacitor's going to have to sit up, so I do need to take that into consideration, otherwise I'll have to be doing some more soldering and lengthening later on. It's time to start soldering. So that's nicely in. Yeah, it's sticking up a bit, but that's just ready, as I said, for my Walksnail Avatar HD to sit under there. I don't really want to be having to extend wires later on, so that'll be fine. I shall just wire up my Crossfire to the flight controller and the GPS to the flight controller, and then I might put on some motors. I'm going to do a quick dry run before I go any further. Flight controller ESC mounted, GPS fixed, soldered, TBS Crossfire soldered. Got my smoke stopper here, which does exactly that, stops from smoking in case I've done something wrong. Don't have my ADVTX on it yet, all the motors, just want to make sure it fires up and everything lights up. So let's have a look. So far so good, lights, and GPS lights. Yep, that looks really good. Do the fun bit and get some motors on. These need no introduction. The MEPS Neon 205.5 in the awesome fluorescent green. Lots of articles on these motors at the moment. 2000 kb. These are going to work a treat on my FlyFish, and the FlyFish also comes with some nice little wire protectors here for your arms. So let's get them on, get the wires cut, get them soldered on to the ESC, and hopefully we'll hear some music. Be careful not to, you guys can see that if you use a too long a screw, you're going to push upwards the wiring that's above these two screw mounts. So what I've done is I've used the shorter ones where they are, so when I tighten it, it's nowhere near protruding the end, and the longer ones on this particular board only just poke their head up past the base of the motor. However, just to be on the safe side, because I have done that in the past, completely destroyed a motor. Yeah, use the shorter ones, make sure you stay well clear of that wiring. 3, 2, 1, done. Piece of cake, done. And literally it was a piece of cake. Yep, all the motors on nicely. I've attached the wire protectors onto the frame. This thing's looking really sturdy. Now for the fun job, cutting and soldering motor wires. Yippee. I just simply put a bit of flux on the wire once I've cut it to the proper length. Bit of solder on there, not too much, just give it a little bit of coverage. If you haven't used flux with soldering, yeah, do yourself a favour and grab some. Use my fingers, get everything where it's meant to be, and heat up the solder that's on there. I might need a little bit more on that flight controller. Simple as that, guys. 1, 2, 3. Make sure that no connections are bridged or touching each other, or you'll soon know about it. Okay, let's put our power supply on, and hopefully we'll hear some motor singing. one final check. Everything looks pretty good. Fingers crossed. Hopefully we'll hear some music. It sounded exactly what I wanted it to sound like. So if all is well, yep, talking. Now I'm not going to connect it up to GPS. Of course I still need to connect up to Betaflight to do some configuring, but as far as the basics go, that's job well done so far. Excellent. So now I can continue to just finish off with a few bits and pieces. Crossfire heat shrunk, nice and protected. We started off with the box, the Volador, and we ended up with the quad. As you can see, pretty much complete. I've got my Avatar HD kit installed. Comes with nice side mount rubbers for the camera, so that's pretty decent. Not too sure about the lean of that lens there. I'll have to check that. It doesn't actually go down any further, so not too sure how that's going to go, but it should be pretty good, I think. Comes with a couple of straps depending on your battery of choice. I'll be flying 4 or 6S, so I've got the big strap on. TBS Crossfire mounted. Does come with a nice TPU mount for the antenna at the back here. GPS, nice soft GPS mount as well. The TPU plug hole thingy for your VTX is nice and tight too. And I really do like how they incorporate the XT60s in the frame. Really handy for, you know, when you want to plug in your LiPo, you don't have your cords hanging around everywhere, trying to hold them still so they don't get smashed up in the props. So I really look for that feature when I'm buying a frame as well. So that's really decent. You get a couple of FlyFish battery bases. I've got the marked one here with their logo. Plenty of spares left over, nuts, bolts, screws. It does actually come with a TPU printed camera mount on the front. I'm not going to use that because I'm just recording straight from the Walksnail, which is fantastic high def footage. Anyway, running the MEPS ESC FC inside, as you guys know. Got some cool MEPS 2505.5 motors. Really looking forward to seeing how they're going to go. Right, let's chuck on the props. I might just quickly put it on Betaflight, run through the settings I've got, and I'll let you guys know about motor direction and what happens if you do plug it all together and you find a motor is spinning the wrong way, which is a really good idea to check. So let's run through that now quickly, and that way we can get flying and see this and see if this thing takes off. So a couple of things I like to do myself when I am doing some bench testing and beta flighting with my quads is I've made up a little stand here, which is basically yeah, just a PC fan. Hooked it up to my transformer. I reversed it so that it actually pushes cold air up from underneath, so you can actually sit your quad on, and it gives it a nice blow, so it doesn't get hot. Because as you know, when you do plug in power supplies and the quad's not flying, the flight controller ESCs do tend to get hot depending on what you've got, and this helps keep them cool, so you don't need to hurry through everything and cook your quad. Okay, I just found this battery is knackered. Another one for the bin. I've had some comments about my little power box here. You can't actually buy these, I just made it up myself. It's literally just a button. I hook my smoke stopper up to it, and it just allows me to have a button activation to power on the quad for when I'm bench testing. Yeah, as simple as that. So yeah, sorry I can't give you a link to where that came from. So when I do hook the quad up for the first time, what I do like to just check is that we have the correct accelerometer, gyroscope, direction, etc. of the quad, and we do, which is very good. The ports here, so you can see the UART 1, which is used for the Walksnail AVATAR. 2 is my TBS Crossfire, and I've got the GPS on UART 3 on this particular board. I haven't touched much in configuration. I've just basically left this as it is stock. Power battery I have left stock as well, 3.3 and 4.3. I haven't actually touched my fail safes yet. I will be looking at doing a GPS rescue. I'll do that in a separate video though. It can be quite in depth. My receiver should be all hooked up nicely.
Welcome to OpenTX.
I have paired my TBS Crossfire, so we can see telemetry there, so that's pretty good.
Receiver still connected.
Keep that running. If you don't have any telemetry, just make sure you've got your serial UART selected here and Crossfire if that's what we're using. That's probably your problem. And the other problem is if you don't have one of your telemetries running, like I have my return to home on AUX 8, just make sure you've got, oops, just make sure you have 12 channels selected on the rear of your TBS. If you only got the stock 8, it won't work. GPS, so the modes that I've got, yeah, arm, disarm, angle, horizon, failsafe, etc. Now, GPS won't come up because I don't have it plugged into a power supply, but when I do plug it in, we will see the little GPS icon hopefully pop up the top of the screen here. Ah, there it is, GPS. So yeah, GPS up and running, all good. Let's turn that off again. Yeah, GPS needs power to run. Now this is the part I want to look at. So when your quad is first up and running, make sure you've got it facing forward and you can see the motor directions here. Betaflight's really good these days because what you can actually do is check your motor direction. It tells you to make sure that props are removed, and you understand that. Well, we like to do it individually. So what you do now is you check your prop direction. So what I do is just stick a prop on loose, don't tighten it up. It doesn't really matter which way you put it on, we're just looking at direction here. So number 1 should be spinning in a clockwise direction. So let's see what normal is on that. Oh, sorry, I forgot you need power for this. My mistake. I do apologise. We'll start again. So motor direction. If you need to reorder your motors, that's something this can do as well. I'll show you that shortly. So I'm going to run individual. So we'll start with number 1. So you just press and keep your finger on the button, and that should be spinning in a clockwise direction, which it is. Excellent. Motor number 2 should be spinning in an anti-clockwise direction. Let's just put all these on here now, so I don't need to stop and start. It's not going to hit that, and it's not going to hit anything. Nope. Motor 2 should be anti-clockwise, which it is. Motor 3 should be anti-clockwise, which it is, and motor 4 should be clockwise. Excellent. So not only do we have the correct direction, but we also have the correct motors set up. Sometimes you might build a quad and you've got motor 2 where motor 4 is, etc. So Betaflight, actually, before you had to use another program, but now we use Betaflight, and you can actually reorder your motors. On screen display here for my Walksnail AVATAR, you can actually get that by the presets presets screen, which is really good. Betaflight also include a lot of these VTXs, so you don't have to mess around looking for those files online, so you can have your VTX. So that's a really good feature as well of Betaflight. That's pretty much all I do, folks. Let's get back on the bench and let's tighten up those props. Okay, I know which way the motor's spinning, so I know which way the props go on. Let's put some nuts on the top there and see if this thing flies. A 1800 4S for our Maiden startup. Hasn't got a great deal of power on it, but that's okay. Let's fire it up. Done all my checks. Hopefully everything's going to be well when we launch this thing. It's not going to go mental. I'm not going to fly here obviously, but I will start it up. Make sure it starts up and everything sounds and looks good. Okay. I'll go outside for a fly, see what happens. Well, that fly's an absolute treat. I decided to get this FlyFish to do some long range. I do like doing long range stuff with 5 inches. The MEPS motors and props, they're going to be great for the cruising I want to do. That is out for a range test and a fly around soon, so keep an eye out for that, guys. Many thanks to MEPS for these awesome 2505.5 motors, props, ESCs, flight controllers. I have used MEPS stuff and am currently using a lot also, so have a look at that link, guys. It's really affordable gear. There's also a code that you know now to get yourself even more of a discount, which is quite simply GTA. Punch it into the coupon area, you'll save yourself some money, and that would also help me out so I can keep doing these builds and keep doing these reviews, which I love doing. That's a wrap. That's a video. Drop us a comment, drop us a like, much appreciated. See you guys again soon. Ground to Air RC. Take care. Bye for now.